All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into something pretty interesting, the finances of Celeste.
Okay.
She's a 22-year-old single mom living in Denver,
Wow.
and she's making it work on a $39,000 salary.
Okay.
Now, the really interesting part is that she's living at home,
Right.
which of course has a big impact on her finances. So let's unpack this a little bit.
Yeah, that's a really good point because it's easy to overlook how much of a financial leg up living at home can be,
Huge.
especially in a city like Denver where rent is no joke. We're talking about an average of $1,700 a month for just a one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, that's wild.
Celeste is contributing $300 to her parents, which is definitely helpful,
Sure.
but it pales in comparison to what she'd be paying if she were out on her own.
Yeah, it's like a built-in safety net in a way. But I'm guessing it's not always easy street, right? There have to be some drawbacks too.
Oh, absolutely. There are always trade-offs. While living at home gives Celeste some breathing room financially right now,
Right.
it could potentially delay her path toward complete financial independence.
I see what you mean.
And let's be real, life happens. Unexpected costs pop up all the time.
For sure. The only constant is change, as they say.
Exactly.
So let's dive into her budget a bit, because even with the advantage of living at home, she's still juggling a lot.
Yeah, she is. And one of the things that immediately jumps out is the childcare situation.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Celeste's family is helping out with childcare, which is amazing.
It's huge help.
Because it means she's not shelling out that average of $1,200 to $1,600 a month that a lot of parents in Denver face.
Oh, that's like a whole other rent payment.
Right.
That's incredible.
It really highlights how crucial that kind of support system is.
Absolutely.
Especially for single parents. It can literally make or break someone's budget.
Yeah, it makes you think, what if the support system wasn't there? What would she do?
That's the big what if, isn't it? It
Exactly.
really underscores the importance of accessible, affordable childcare.
It makes you realize how much we take those kinds of support systems for granted sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so childcare is covered for now, but what about getting around? Living in a city like Denver, you got to have transportation.
Right. And she does have a car. Her car payment's $375 a month, and then there's another $225 for insurance.
Wow, so that's $600 right there.
It adds up fast.
It really does. Are there any decent public transportation options in Denver? Is that something she could consider?
There are definitely options, but it depends on her specific location and work situation.
Yeah.
It's not always as simple as hopping on a bus or train.
Especially with a young child.
Right.
It's not always realistic.
Okay, so we've got housing, childcare, and transportation covered.
Right.
What other big expenses are we looking at here?
Well, one thing that caught my eye was the $400 a month allocated to online shopping.
Okay, hold on. Before you go any further, let me guess. This is relatable, isn't it?
Maybe just a little.
Just a tad.
It's those little things, you know? Those impulse buys that get us.
Every time.
But that $400 could be going toward other financial goals, like building an emergency fund or investing.
For sure.
It's not about judging Celeste or anyone in a similar situation.
Right.
It's about recognizing those spending patterns we all fall into. Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get caught up in the moment with online shopping. It's just too easy.
It really is.
But like you said, that money could be building a safety net or even just giving her a little more breathing room in her budget. It's so easy to rack up those online purchases, isn't it? But it does make you wonder, where is the wiggle room in this budget for unexpected expenses or, just saving up for the future?
Right. It's about finding that balance, and it highlights how important having an emergency fund really is.
Okay, so for someone like Celeste, who's already making every dollar count, how much should she aim to have in her emergency fund?
Well, ideally, you want to have about 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses saved up.
3 to 6 months. Wow, okay, that's a lot.
It sounds like a lot, but it's really about having that financial cushion for those just-in-case moments.
Those just-in-case moments. Yeah, life likes to throw those curveballs, doesn't it?
It really does.
So how much does Celeste actually have left over each month after all those essentials?
Right now, it's about $410.
Okay, so that's not nothing.
Right.
But it's also not enough to cover a major emergency. So what are some strategies she could use to boost that emergency fund? Especially since we were just talking about those online spending habits.
Well, even small changes can make a big difference over time. What if instead of spending $400 a month online, she challenged herself to cut back by just $100 or $200?
Okay, so it doesn't have to be all or nothing.
Exactly.
Just being a little more mindful.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
What else?
Well, that money she saves from cutting back on online purchases could go straight into her emergency fund.
Ooh, I love that idea. It's like tricking yourself into saving money.
Right. Because you don't even see it. It's not like you're missing out on anything. Okay, so we've talked about the emergency fund, but I also keep coming back to that childcare situation. What if that family support system wasn't there? How would that impact her budget?
Well, if Celeste were to need outside childcare, we'd be potentially adding that $1,200 to $1,600 back into her monthly expenses.
Wow. So suddenly that online shopping budget seems even less sustainable.
Right.
It really highlights how important those informal childcare arrangements can be.
They're a lifeline for a lot of
They
families.
really are. Okay, let's do another one of those what-if scenarios.
Yeah.
What if Celeste decided she wanted to move out on her own? What kind of impact would that have on her finances?
Well, we know the average rent in Denver is around $1,700 for a one-bedroom. And that's just rent.
Yeah.
That doesn't include utilities, groceries, all those other expenses that come with living independently.
Yeah, it all adds up so quickly.
It really does. And suddenly that $410 surplus she has now could easily turn into a pretty significant deficit.
That's a big difference.
Yeah,
It makes you appreciate the financial advantage that living at home is giving her right now.
absolutely. But of course, living at home isn't a long-term solution for everyone.
Of course not. Everyone's situation is different.
Exactly. And it's not all about the numbers either. There are personal goals, career aspirations, relationships. All these things factor into the equation.
It's about finding that balance, right?
Yeah,
Between independence and stability.
exactly.
It's a tough balance, for sure. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Celeste's finances, what are your biggest takeaways here? What really stands out to you?
You know, it's a good reminder that there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to finances. Everyone's situation is unique.
That's so true.
And Celeste's situation really highlights that living at home is giving her a financial advantage right now,
Definitely.
but it also comes with its own set of considerations.
It's a trade-off, for sure.
It is.
It makes you think about all those other factors that play into our financial lives, too.
Absolutely.
Like having a support system, access to affordable childcare,
Mhm.
even just the cost of living in a particular city.
All of that factors in. And it highlights why it's so important to approach these conversations with empathy,
Yes.
because we all have our own unique circumstances and challenges.
Exactly. So for anyone listening who might be in a similar situation as Celeste, maybe feeling a little overwhelmed by their finances, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
Don't be afraid to ask for help, you know? Reach out to a financial advisor, talk to friends and family, do some research online. There are resources available to help you take control of your finances.
Love that knowledge is power. And taking those small steps like setting up a budget or automating your savings can make a big difference over time.
They really can. It's about progress, not perfection.
Well said.
Huh?
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. Big thanks to you for breaking down Celeste's finances with us.
Happy to be here.
And for all you listeners out there, thanks for tuning in. Keep those deep dive suggestions coming our way. We love hearing from you. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those finances in check.